Welcome to another special edition of the Wolf Den. Today is our second open to work showcase of the year. We're going to bring on candidates who are looking for their next role, hear more about what they do and what they're looking for. All the while, we have some tips for any job seekers that are scrolling across the bottom. And if you have any other tips for our job seekers, please put them in the chat, and we will add it. Everyone needs all the help that they can get. So like, comment, and share what you see. Connect with all of the candidates that are appearing on this show today. And then we'll hopefully get everyone back to work. We're going to start. We have a short roster today with some cancellations at the last minute for people who actually have interviews and got jobs. So that's always a good thing. But we are going to bring on Brian to start. Brian, welcome to the show.
Matt, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure, my man.
Yeah, it's I've seen your cry for help, which is great. I mean, it's one of the things that we tell people to do is to let people know that you're looking for work, let people know what you're looking for. Because some people don't know. I mean, there's probably a lot of people who didn't know that you're looking for a job. And if they do, they want to find out, what are you looking for? So that's really what this is about, to get out there. Hey, I'm looking for work. Here's what I've done. Here's what I'd like to do. So for the people who don't know you, tell us who you are, where you're at, what you've done, and what you're looking for, and we'll discuss.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. So in a previous life, I spent 25 years in radio, both on the air and in management, and in every facet of radio, working with marketing, branding, sales, production, all of that stuff while hosting a show and managing a staff. So that was my previous career. And then in 2019, the radio industry started kind of eating itself up. And we've seen it happen in corporate media over decades, whether it be the newspaper industry, the radio industry, now with television and the come up of streaming services. Your terrestrial TV stations are facing the same issue. So, it's time to pivot. When the paradigm shifts, you got to shift with it. So from radio, I went into the retail education space, managing a franchise of a location of a place called Code Ninjas, where I wasn't teaching the coding to the kids, but I was managing the operation, the front of house, all of that stuff. And then from there, went on to my current gig of working as a practice administrator for a concierge urgent medical care practice called Doctors on Call 365. And the good thing about that job is it's a remote gig. I can work from anywhere. I can do all of my administrative stuff basically from my phone. And during all this, I went out and got my MBA at Lynn University with a concentration in media management. And now with all of that under my belt, all of these different experiences that I've had in different industries, I feel like I'm looking for something where I can take advantage of all my new skill sets and education and really go out there and have an impact and help another company succeed.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to mention about the MBA that you got. It's never a bad thing to get an MBA. Why did you get it? Obviously, were there certain skills that you wanted to learn to make you maybe better suited for some of the jobs that you're looking for?
Yeah, so, during the pandemic, a lot of people took up baking or started exercising or took on one hobby or another. I decided, you know what? I've never, ever in my life thought that I was going to go back and get another degree or do anything more in education. But I just looked around and said, you know what? We have this time. We're all stuck at home. And it seems like a great time to better myself. So I found a great program at Lynn University that allowed me to get my MBA, but also with a great curriculum in media management, which obviously is part of my background as well. And so I got some of those skill sets and learned a bunch of stuff about areas that, if you're going to be in management in any company, you want to have a good foundation of. And so that's what the MBA allowed me to do. And so now I feel like I'm a little bit more versatile in what kind of jobs I can apply for because I have that background now.
Yeah, one of the things that we put on the bottom here is target, so it's easier for people to help. We get a lot of times people saying, "Well, I'm looking for a sales job," or they just give something very vague. It's harder for people to help you because look, there's a ton of jobs out there, and I can just send them all to you, or I could say, "Hey, I really have a good idea what Brian's looking for. I see this job, and it says, oh, that would be good for Brian. Let me forward it to him. Let me tag him. Let me share it with him." So give us a couple of maybe job titles, descriptions, or an industry. If we were going, obviously you're open to a lot of things, the same as everyone should be. But if there were a couple of titles slash industries that would be ideal for you, what would that be?
Well, I can tell you what I definitely don't want, and that is what you mentioned, which is a sales job. Is I listen, I've always worked well with salespeople. I've been told by radio station general managers and media executives I'd be great at sales, but I don't want to jump into an occupation that's going to rely on commission. So, as much as I love those hustlers, that's just not my thing. Obviously, the easiest one, and I've been told this by a bunch of people, is hey, you'd be great at creating podcast and audio and video content for companies to help them grow their business in a way that maybe they haven't thought of. Every company could utilize a podcast or a vlog or whatever it is to make content to showcase their company. And I think I'd be great at that. I also would be great in marketing or branding, internal communication, external communication. All of that stuff is in my wheelhouse for sure. So, listen, I know I'm throwing a lot out there, and I think I'm pretty versatile and able to kind of jump into almost any industry, learn it, figure it out, and jump in and help. But with my background extensively in media, that's something that I can bring to the table full force for a company.
You've been looking for work, and I see, as we mentioned, you posted on LinkedIn, posted on Facebook, asking your friends for help, asking people. That's obviously great. We have some recommendations that are scrolling. What's something that has been positive for you in your job search that might help others who are in the same position?
Well, so it's been a positive and a negative, but the positive is look at your network. And over the course of my time working in various industries, whether it's radio or education or medicine, I've really built up a great network. And I guess I assumed that when I put it out there that I was looking for a gig, that all of these people would come running over and slide into my DMs and start offering jobs, right? But that didn't happen. It didn't happen. And it really got me down, really got me depressed. I was like, wait a minute. I know all of these people. They work for companies that are hiring. How come they're not just calling me and saying, hey, we got a great job for you? And I realized, you know what? I got to work on it a little bit more. I got to push those relationships a little bit more because everyone is so caught up in their day to day and their own job and their own family and their own life that sometimes they get the blinders up when it comes to helping out the people they know. But if you really get in front of them, if you really push it and say, hey, here's my resume, here's my LinkedIn profile, here's what I got going on, here's how I can help a company, they finally started to come through and really started to throw my resume around to people that they knew and that they are connected with, and that's been the positive.
Yeah, that's again bullet point right down there in all caps. Ask for the help that you need.
Yeah.
You just have to do it because, like you said, people are busy. And look, you ask for what you need. The people who want to help will help. The people who don't, they'll brush it off. That's I've been in sales a long time.
Yeah.
I got if I got upset every time, I do get upset, but you got a lot of no's, a lot of non-answers, but keep asking. The great thing about finding a job is it only takes one, right? It only takes that one. And that's why we encourage people to click, like, share, comment. You just never know who's going to be able to see these things. And also never know who you ask to help. Like I might not necessarily know anyone that's hiring, but I'm connected to a lot of people who are posting jobs all the time. I think I might have connected you to them. If not, we're going to talk about people like Mark Goldberg and Christine Osazua. I mean, there's a ton of people, Brent McCreary and Angela Ang. These people are posting jobs, like high quality jobs for high quality companies. So just like, comment, and share. Ask for what you need. You're in South Florida. you work remote, that's ideal for you. Is relocation an option, or just got to be either local combination of remote?
Yeah, so unfortunately, I'm in that situation. My son is in the second year in high school. He's at a school that really caters to what he's great at, which the apple doesn't fall from the far from the tree. He's huge into broadcasting and media and film and all sorts of stuff. So to move now, I think would be a hindrance on the family. I'm not against it in the future, but I got to get him through high school. So that gives me 2 more years here in South Florida without a doubt. So right now, yeah, looking here in South Florida. Even better would be Broward County, but I'm definitely open to going up to Palm Beach or down to Dade, and working remotely is also something I do very well as well. So yeah, wide open, but I'm not relocating just yet.
Yeah, no, it's a fair thing. I just wanted people to know, hey, I can't, if you are open to relocation or not. These days, I think almost most jobs can be done remotely, or at least remotely most of the time. It just depends. So I haven't looked for jobs or had interviews, so I haven't had those conversations recently. But when I hire, I'll hire anyone, anywhere, as long as they're not having to work on the actual presses where we're at. It really shouldn't matter. Do you have any? We talked a little bit about what you're looking for. Do you have any dream jobs, dream companies? Like, it's always good to put that out in the world. You never know who's listening or who might know.
Ooh, that's a tough one. Yeah, I
You
mean,
snap your fingers and I could be hired tomorrow. Maybe it's someone you've already applied for. Maybe it's someone you're in the middle
I mean, I'll be honest with you. If I could go work at my original alma mater, the University of Miami, and everyone's like, "Oh, you should go work for the athletic department," and I'm like, you know what? I did sports my entire life. I could work anywhere. Obviously, with a master's, I can teach. I would love to do anything at the University of Miami. I've applied for some jobs there, but that is the aside from my family and friends, the University of Miami, not just the Hurricanes football team, but really the school as a whole is what is first place in my heart.
Are you
So
connected with Mackie Firestein?
yeah, we're best friends, buddy. Yeah, we just talked about this morning. Mackie is really one of my best friends. So yeah, we've talked about that. But if anyone else is out there that knows where they can direct me down at the U, I've applied for a bunch of gigs, haven't really heard back, but that would be the dream place, would be to do that. And then the other thing is, listen, I think I'm okay at this whole podcast thing and, talking with my mouth and getting the words out there that need to get out there. So that's also a dream is if there's companies now that want to create content, I can help create that content for you.
Well, we talk about, creating content is a good point you make. If you're wanting to get into that, my advice is to just do it. Start it, get it rolling, post content online, LinkedIn or Facebook. And so as people are seeing the content that you're posting, that's also the comments, the engagements. That's something it's a portfolio. It's almost like a graphic artist is going to send some of the stuff that they've done. So as you're doing this stuff, partly to help find a job, partly because it's fun, maybe partly because it's something you think you might want to do. I think it's there's a low barrier to entry on the on that.
Yeah, I mean, got my audio set up here, my video set up here, got my ring lights going, all that stuff, and just started a new podcast covering the Miami Hurricanes called the Real Ones Canes podcast. So I'll start posting more of those episodes and getting my stuff out there. The interesting thing is, Matt, and I'd love your take on this because this is something that impacts all of us creative people. Is yesterday I got into a discussion on my Facebook page. You may have seen it or may or not. A lot of people were like, "Hey, go find a headhunter, go, whatever." And as I've looked through those people that are out there as headhunters or finding people jobs, there's not a lot of that for those of us that are creative or in this space. There's a lot of people that'll find you an IT job or a medical sales job or a finance job, but there's not a lot of headhunters or job looking out people. That's not the phrase you want to use, but people that look out for your gigs in the creative space. And it's kind of frustrating. It's like someone should do that.
Yeah, I agree. It's a lot of finance, a lot of IT, sales you could probably find, but maybe a post that just says, "Hey, I'm looking for some, a recruiter who hires and put a few industries or types of jobs and see someone's got to know someone. I mean, there are people who are helping. Dan Roth, who is actually going to be on the show in a little bit, says he has some connections to the Heat. So definitely connect with Dan, which would be great. Dana would like to connect. She was on highlighted last year when we started to do these. It's just there are a lot of people who want to help. So I understand your frustration with some of the sort of crickets you got from your post, but there are people seeing it, and there might be people going behind the scenes. So don't get discouraged and keep putting those posts out there and contacts content and asking people. I mean, I think that's important for you. I know some people that would be great guests for your hurricane show, some real diehard fans and people connected in some form or fashion to the U. So I'm happy to help you out with that. What has been the hardest part of this job search? We get a lot. We get a lot of the same comments, like not getting a response if you've interviewed. But aside from that, what's been the hardest part?
I feel like when I first started looking for jobs back in the day, that it was a lot more personal, that I could get directly to a hiring manager or someone higher up in the company and have an offline conversation and pitch myself. And I feel like you can't do that anymore, that there are certain channels you have to go through. And if you don't go through those channels, you just can't get your foot in the door. And it's kind of against the way I like to work, like the first, I worked at WQAM, and then I left there and wanted to get in at 790 The Ticket, another radio station, and no one was taking my call. So what did I do? I sent 12 pizzas to the general manager and said, hey, I'm feeding your staff today. Can you at least call me back? And it worked. But that was, more than a decade ago. I feel like you can't do the same things like that anymore, that you have to go through proper channels in order to get noticed. It's a little less personal, I think.
I would argue that it's probably true for direct, but I would still do that, get creative, and that person might be able to help push you ahead or get some attention to you. I don't know. I met Stu Gatz on Radio Row last year, and Joe Rose. I mean, I saw him at the baseball Gator Cane baseball game, but I don't really know either of them. But I would say do stuff like that. We had someone who created a song and she went viral, for this song she created about her job search. I would if you have that creative mind and those ideas, I would do something like that because I think it could help push you to the top. I don't know that it'll get direct. I think there's value to doing that. And I think it would always, especially with the type of work that you're looking for, I think getting creative like that, I think that's a real bonus.
Yeah, man, it's something that a good friend taught me a long time ago, that you gotta find ways to butter people up, and so you gotta get creative in that way.
But even the other way, I created a long time ago. It was terrible because I don't know what I'm doing, but I had a PowerPoint presentation. It was like, instead of a resume, it was a PowerPoint. Right. This, and this, and then at the end, I did the top 5 reasons to hire Matt Wolf, and like a countdown. And I didn't get the job, but that was more that my experience was terrible. But I think it got the attention of the people, and that's what you need to get the attention in a sea of a lot of people who are looking to work. Doesn't mean they're better than you or not. Maybe they're a better fit. Who knows? But there's a lot of people out there looking, and especially trying to find the jobs. Once you see something posted online or someone posts that they're hiring, they get real quick filled up. So anything you could do to stand out, I think would be great. Before we bring Hannah on, anything else you'd like to tell everyone as you continue your job search?
Yeah, I'm eager. I think I pick things up really quickly, no matter the industry. And I'm a great people person. And I love to work in great, positive working environments. I think that's, whenever you find a job, I've been in jobs where it's been just like fingernails on a chalkboard when you walk into the office. and I've been in jobs where it's an absolute delight. And the ones that are an absolute delight bring the best out of me, that's for sure. And I think they bring the best out of everyone.
Yeah. I know we've talked before. I have some people I'll connect you with and some ideas. So we'll go. And there's other people in the audience too. I think it's impressive the experience they have combined with wanting to get better by going and get your MBA and then working in a few other industries. These are all skill sets that can be transferred, and that's a big thing that you got to lean on. I think as you look towards that, I might not have 5 experiences in this, but I have all this experience doing, which translates. I think it's going to be a big help for you. So really good to have you on here. We'll be in touch soon, and yeah, connect with Brian.
Yeah,
Help him out. Connect him with some people. Connect with him. Send ideas, and let's get everyone back to work.
Matt. Yeah, Matt, really, I so appreciate your support and the opportunity. It's really amazing what you do. And to everyone in the audience that's sending notes and all of that, thank you too. It's just been a real pleasure.
Yeah, Andrew Haynes gave me the idea. He had a free agent Friday. We would just bring one person on and talk to him. So that's sort of where I got. And then really inspired by Mark Goldberg and Christine Osuzua and everyone who's they're posting jobs. And, not because it benefits them, because it helps people. And that's, we do what we can to help. That's we have here. Help when you can. It's the right thing to do, but you never know when you're going to be the one looking for work and needing help, or looking for something and needing help from others. So great to see you. Connect with Brian, and we will bring on the next guest.
Thanks, Matt.
All right. Right now, we welcome Hannah to the show.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. I saw you. I think you posted a "Help me, I'm looking for work" or somewhere along that line. That's how I found you. Which it's what we suggest everyone does. People need to know that you're looking for them to help. So I see here recent UC Davis graduate. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Where are you, and what are you looking to do? And maybe talk a little bit about any experience that you might have.
Yeah, so I just graduated this past March. I graduated early from UC Davis with a degree in English. I had an emphasis in creative writing, and I also minored in professional writing. So I have a lot of formal educational experience in regards to anything writing, kind of whatever is needed. I think that puts me in a good position for work, just in terms of, what clientele might need or what a company might need. As far as any experience I have, it's not much professional, just because I did just graduate. So it's been jobs in high school, part-time jobs throughout college. I have contracts experience through my previous job on campus working with student housing. I worked 2 years as a supervisor at a frozen yogurt shop, so I have a lot of experience working with other people and working with customers. And so while it isn't, I'm not putting it on LinkedIn as having writing or, marketing experience. I definitely have those interpersonal connections and that experience from education and working. And so as far as, what I'm looking for, I'm just looking for my interests are definitely in writing, in whatever that is. I'm specifically looking in like publishing, or kind of another route is screenwriting. I love creative writing and writing scripts. I did a little bit of that in high school with a film class, and a little in community college as well. So yeah, I don't really know exactly where my path is going. I think that's a little intimidating, but also really exciting, because I'm kind of looking for anything that will give me experience, and anything that will give me a little bit more knowledge, and things I can add to my toolbox.
Yeah, well, let's talk about writing. That's sort of specific, but it's also vague in the same sense. As we ask everyone, if you're targeting, what is type of writing do you enjoy the most for a job? Not, and it could be what you do, personally for fun, but as a hobby. But for a job, what type of writing would you say would be an ideal position for you?
Yeah, so I definitely am interested in journalism. I took a few classes on it, and it was probably what most intrigued me as far as something that was interested subjects that were interesting to write about, but that also I could see myself doing as a career. I'm definitely interested in writing for like a local newspaper or writing for or even just working for like a radio station, writing scripts for them. I think those kind of would go hand in hand. Um, yeah, I would definitely say that, as well as kind of just marketing and social media. I've done a little bit of that. I had an internship for my professional writing minor, where I kind of ran the social media or planned on writing the social media accounts. Unfortunately, the internship didn't really pan out. I have the work and like the portfolio for it, but there's, not a I worked for a journal, like a student run journal. It didn't really work out because it was student run and kind of just fell through. But I gained a lot of experience that way as far as kind of blending creative and professional writing, and bringing it into a professional space. So I would say if I had to choose one, definitely journalism is something I'm definitely interested in.
Dan, who again, who's going to be on shortly, is says he has some information. I work with the Florida National News, who actually does coverage all over the U.S. on sports, and they might be happy to have you cover some stuff. Are you in the San Francisco area? I saw you graduated. Where are you located now?
Yeah, so I'm in Davis for another year living with friends. I'm definitely willing to relocate after that time. As of right now, I'm looking to stay in the area. And so I've been primarily focusing on um, local jobs like in the Sacramento area as well as in the Bay Area. And then I'm also open to remote positions as well.
And I saw you active on LinkedIn posting about, that I'm looking, which is always something we recommend. Anything else that you've done that you might have found helpful that could be good for other people in the same shoes?
I reach One of the first things that people advise me to do is reach out to recent alumni, whether they were in my field or not. And I definitely did that. I had a phone meeting with one of the alumni who worked as a city editor for, I believe, SAC magazine. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. Sorry, but
So,
I got on a call with him, and just gave me a lot of advice coming from Davis into the writing field in Sacramento, and just gave me a lot of pointers. And then any internships and stuff he had that he found, he'd send me links for. And I actually ended up applying for his position once he left. Unfortunately, didn't get that, but that overall was just a great experience connecting with him and just gaining more insight. And it was just, I felt he really wanted to help me, because not only because we were kind of looking to do the same things, but also because he was an alumni. I've connected with a lot of people from UC Davis who are either current students, professors that I've had, or are alumni. And I think that probably has been a really great help. And then looking into any of their connections as well.
yeah, on LinkedIn, people who went to your school, people who are in the same industry, connect with them. Hey, I'm looking for work. If you can connect with them, great. If they can give you a few minutes to chat, even better. Handshake has some universities and internships, some paid internships, which could be, a good way to go to get started. You got to get experience somewhere. So, and those are usually shorter term. So that might be an avenue that you can look into. And then, yeah, alumni. If you can find someone who's sort of has a higher profile who graduated from UC Davis, who might be in the news, maybe a local news people. You could probably find them on Facebook. The local stations there, and but nowadays with journalism, writing, and blogging, and you can cover anywhere. You can, so you don't. It doesn't have to be limited to that area that you're at now. And the other thing I would encourage is share your writing. Whether you have some already, share it, or just start writing and start building a portfolio, even though it's not for anything, but it'll sort of show your writing skills, which is that you can write about anything, and then show your knowledge about whatever it is that you would like to cover. So whether that's sports or entertainment or politics or weather, travel, food, anything like that, start a blog or just start content. I think Dan had some good things with LinkedIn. If you could do like LinkedIn newsletters and articles that you can put on LinkedIn, you could just create an article. I've done some articles. I don't do as many as I should, but it's all great because it could sit right up at the top. And again, all this stuff is a portfolio. If you're writing, it's one of the key things about being a writer is it doesn't matter if it's experience that you worked writing for. Some writing is writing, whether someone published it or not. They could look at it and they could see again the writing skill that you have and the knowledge that you have about a particular subject. So that's what I would suggest for you to start doing more if you're doing it already, or to start doing. And look, I'm sure you hate to hear this, but you're young. You could
Yeah.
have 5 jobs. The thing, but that's a bonus for you because you don't have to feel like this job that you're going to take next is going to be, this is it for me. You take a stab at a job at a company, it might not be a good fit. It might not be the right industry. So, that's a positive about being in the situation that you're in. And, try and find out what works for you. It took me a long time to find a job that I even wanted to tell anyone about or put on a resume or even go to every day. So, definitely keep that in mind as you're searching. Asking people for help. One thing that people don't really do, and maybe it's on LinkedIn, is go down your phone book in your phone and say, hey, am I connected with everyone on LinkedIn? Because some people you might not be, because there's not a real reason to be. But again, it's social media. It's who's connected to who do they know? And they can support you by liking, commenting, or sharing, and just never know who's in their network. But as you start to find the people in the industry, they'll be more willing to connect, mutual connections. I mean, I connect with everyone, but people like to see that, hey, we have a lot of mutual connections. And I think that helps a lot. But there are some people who won't connect with no matter how many connections you have.
Yeah.
I can't explain why people do or they don't. But also, I know you need to get up to 500 connections on LinkedIn, and they stop counting publicly. Not sure why they do that. So my recommendation to you would be start inviting people, target it. Hey, recent graduates or graduates of UC Davis, people who are writing, even higher end. Don't be afraid to ask anyone to connect, and tell them why you're connecting. Hey, I'm a recent graduate. I'd like to get into this. I admire your work. I've been following it. Ask for some time. But you should start inviting people until LinkedIn tells you that you can't do it any. You've done too much this week. Get yourself up to that 500 number, because people, for whatever reason, are a lot more likely to accept that. So that's one thing that I would recommend for you. Dream jobs. If we could say, hey, there's a couple of jobs, say, snap my fingers and I'm doing it tomorrow. Let's put that out there and see who knows who, or at least has a better idea of really, what would be an ideal fit for you.
Yeah. Dream job. I kind of have two, but dream job that I've always been talking about is screenwriting and directing. I've always wanted to get into film and television, whether that's on set or in the writer's room. SNL, like anything television, Hollywood, you know, or even local. I've been on some local sets a few times, and it's been a really awesome experience. I've done a few films like for class. I took a film class right as COVID started up. So I got like 3 weeks of film class at my community college, but that was an awesome experience. And then I also worked on a film for my high school. So I've had a lot of experience in that, just kind of like as a hobby, which I know really translates well into a career just because it's something I'm actually interested in. But yeah, I would definitely say anything related to that. I think that type of field is definitely something where connections and experience is the most important. And I definitely know that. And it's definitely something that, is either on my to do list or is completed or I'm working on right now. I think, you know, my biggest thing is just intimidation of it all because I am so new. Just getting those connections is going to be, I think, the biggest help for me and just getting my foot in the door.
I look, you're going to have to get out of your comfort zone. I
Yeah.
hate it to do it myself, but that's the one other thing we talk about is getting out of your comfort zone, asking for the job you want right here, asking for the help you need. Um, and that's, that's a tough industry to get into, but it's people who know people. So if you start to follow others or just say, hey, I'm trying to get into this industry. Here's something I wrote. Maybe you write a skit for SNL. Maybe you write a small thing. Post the stuff that you have written or have worked on. I think that is, yeah, I think that'll help. It's it can't hurt. Content. Just keep putting it out there. Someone's going to see it, and then create new content. You have it's what you're looking to do is so right. It's similar to what we talked about with Brian, is that you have the chance to create a portfolio with all this stuff that you are doing now or can just do tomorrow, to create that portfolio / resume that, in my eyes, anyone who's worth working for can see. That's the experience you have. Hey, this is my writing. Whether I saw it in the New York Times or I just saw it on LinkedIn, it's the same. It's the content is exactly the same. So that's what I would suggest for you. And we're going to bring Dan on shortly. But anything else that you would like to share with the audience about you and what you're looking for, so we can help you get that job or help get connected? I know I got people in my network who know people, so we'll connect you there.
Yeah, so I have written, I obviously I've collected all of my writing from the past 4 years in college. I'm working on setting up my portfolio. I wrote it on, or I'm setting it up on Writer's Work. And I think I linked it in my LinkedIn. It's not complete yet, but I figured I'd put it on there as I'm working on it.
I agree.
So I'm definitely starting to put my work out. And then, yeah, just looking for anything, any entry level positions, remote or not, in this general area. I'm definitely, because I have experience in all sorts of writing, I'm definitely open to any writing positions. But I would love connections and, the expertise of people in the industries that I'm interested in, whether that's journalism or screenwriting. Um, and yeah, just any help or advice. I think I put that in when I posted on LinkedIn that I was looking for work. Just, even if there's not a job opportunity, any just advice that someone wants to message me about, I would love that. I think I would value that more. So yeah.
Yeah, I think you're off to a good start. You're doing all the right things, and it's just a matter of the right person seeing it, whether that's someone at a place hiring or someone like us and Dan and everyone else who's seeing this, who says, hey, I know someone. Everyone knows someone who's in that world. So they
Yeah.
probably can connect you or connect with you, and then they can help by sharing and the like. So it's I just keep doing what you're doing. It sounds like you're on the right path. You got a lot of people who are happy to help, but get your connections up. That's the first thing. And we'll get you some people in that world that you're looking for in the screenwriting and show business and also journalism. And we wish you the best of luck. Appreciate you taking your time to join us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. This is great.
All right, we're going to bring Dan on now. So connect with Hannah and send her information. All right. Dan, welcome to Open to Work.
Thank you. It's weird being on this side of it,
Yeah.
and back on StreamYard for the first time in 2 years.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Doing great. Well, you've been very helpful in the chat, and that's what this is all about.
Well,
Hearing what people are looking for, and like I said, everyone knows someone and has some ideas. They were in the work, in the job search themselves, or they've been on, talking to people like me and connected to other people who are always trying to help. So there's so much people out there who can help. They just don't know, right? And that's the first thing, people knowing that you're looking for work, and then drilling down. Hey, what am I looking for?
yeah, I mean, that's the thing. 5 years ago, I was on your end of things, connecting people to employers, connections, and otherwise. So being on this end is a little bit weird, but you never lose those connections. You never lose the ability to know where to connect people. I'm going to be honest, when Hannah said journalism, I cringed a little bit because
That's a
I
tough
know the reality of that industry very all too well. But
But
she's got a
she's young,
yeah.
and I've seen her stuff. I'm impressed by her. So, not having to find a big time job in journalism might be to her advantage. Where I say we could find it. Maybe it's an unpaid writing, but you get some experience doing that, or an internship. I think that could help.
Yeah, well, what the interesting thing with journalism is, if you're a good writer, then you could get some of these niche jobs or do like medical writing or things like this, and they actually pay incredibly well, and they're severely under staffed. So you could go in a lot of ways. It's what's more important to you? Is it to make the money and be sustainable, or are you looking to follow your creative vision?
Yeah.
And there's no wrong answer to that. So it's just an interesting dichotomy with where journalism has gone since, you and I were in college, and small town newspapers were still thriving, and now where everything's on the internet.
Yeah. And now the AI is a whole nother,
Don't
that's a
get me
whole other
started.
story. I think the medical writing would be more in line with an AI stuff, because that's technical. Whereas if trying to get creative,
Yeah.
that's where it's so the AI stuff is so literal, right? Because it's pulled from all this stuff, and so you got to sort of melt it. So the creative aspect of it, I think, is unique if you can write. And not everyone can write. I write. I don't think I'm a great writer at all, and no one's going to pay for me to write, but I can get my point across. So when you have that creativity, and you can really put something out there that grabs people's attention, I think that's going to be good for any job you do. But that'll be well. Let's get back. Where are you sitting today? Where do you live? Where what are you looking for? And then we'll talk about more of your background, so we can get other people to help you.
First of all, welcome to my studio. I am still with my kids, and
No
I didn't expect my cat to be the one that was making noise, but here we are. I'm originally from the East Coast, Jersey, born and bred, very proud of it. Whether I should be or not is a different question. But now I'm living in San Diego, California. Oh, hi, Kat. She's walking across the screen right now. Her mom is not home. So yeah, I'm sitting in my studio. I, on top of everything else, I'm a producer, editor, content designer when it comes to everything podcast. So, yeah, I'm calling in from my studio. And apparently, if I could make this tail a microphone, I would. Okay,
Yeah.
can you move, sweetie?
I love it. We got cats here. My door's closed, but they would come in and hop on if they could.
Yeah, I mean, when we started talking about the show, I know that it was 2 hours and some people called out. So I didn't anticipate um, this, but I'm a full-time twin girl dad. So you have to roll with the punches. And that's exactly what we're doing here. But yeah, it's,
I'm a twin myself. Are they fraternal? I'm a fraternal twin.
fraternal.
Yeah.
One looks exactly like my wife. The other looks exactly like me. One acts exactly like I did. That same one makes me cry that she acts exactly like I did. So it's fun. As a twin, that there's so many nuances that people don't understand.
Yeah.
But they just turned 4 at the end of August. So and they're not pandemic babies, but right before. So I'm very, very blessed that they had somebody to play with while we were really stuck inside.
Well, that's one of the great things about being a twin. My friend Brent has twin girls; they're best friends. My brother is my best friend. It's just, if it goes the way it should, you will always have someone there who will be there for you and to be with. So that's good stuff. You talk about podcasting. Let's talk about what you're looking for first, and then we'll talk about where you've been.
So I'm in an interesting position. I came from Amazon, where I was a technical recruiter, but the majority of the time that I spent there, I was doing program management, basically cultivating the talent development journey, things like creating mentorship programs and teaching people how to bring in more diverse talent, really cultivating that internal ecosystem to make it
in the HR world.
So yes and no. Like I did it. I started, as I mentioned, I started as a recruiter, but I really focused more on the learning development aspect of it and the diversity, equity, inclusion piece. That's where I have 20 years in diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, 10 years in program management. And because of that, and because I'm not the least well-known person that you're ever going to have on your show, I have this cat wants to be on camera. I have a lot of credibility, and it's weird because there were a lot of times where when I started working there, people would send me messages, "Hey, I know who you are." Da, da, da. So I was put in charge of a lot of projects, and over the last year and a half, I was part of the Amazon layoffs. The entire DEIB sphere really took a 90% turn. So there's only about 10% left of all diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging practitioners in corporate America. So I got laid off, and it's one of those things where everybody under the sun says, well, you're going to find something quick. And I have an incredibly large connected network. So I put out, my sort of SOS, and a lot of people came through. But the thing that a lot of people don't realize is that there's an enormous amount of people that want to help, but there's a difference between wanting to help and saying that you want to help and actually being able to help. And one of the conversations I have all the time is, should you really say, I want to help, unless you could actually help? Isn't that doing more of a disservice to the person than otherwise?
Well, I think that goes almost to the targeting too, like getting specific on what to help people help, because someone might want to help. It's like, well, they want to know, how can I help?
Well,
and if it's not as targeted and specific, I might struggle to find a way, like, how can I help you, other than just saying, hey, do this, whatever's scrolling across the bottom, and connect with these people.
Well, yeah, but I also think it's partly to do with people feeling like if they don't, then they're a bad person, and that's not the case. Yeah. But you're 100% right, and this is where I've had to get really, really specific, because I mentioned I'm very privileged, and I know the top resume writers in the country, probably the world. I spoke for the National Association of Resume Writers. So even when I knew that Amazon was doing layoffs, I had my resume reviewed and redone by a couple of certified resume writers. So that really wasn't something I needed done. So when I started getting specific, what wound up happening is I found that my biggest barrier of entry was simply being connected to the actual hiring managers. Because unpopular opinion or not, recruiters does, and this is coming from somebody that was a recruiter, recruiters don't always have a lot of say. So if you're trying to find someone, you really need to get to the hiring manager. And this is why informational interviews are so important, but not with the recruiter, with somebody that's actually working in the role that you want to, because ultimately their boss is going to be the person that hires you. So strategically, my barrier of entry, as I just mentioned, was getting to those people. Even for somebody with my experience level, I wasn't passing through the screening process. And that's not me saying that the ATS was eating me up alive. That's not an accurate fact whatsoever. But I wasn't getting through because there were companies with this many people getting laid off can be extremely specific. So let's say that I have all the experience, but I don't have enterprise. And that's one of the things that they're looking for. That's automatically going to bring me down. In fact, I had an interview with a company where it was a 15-minute interview. We talked for 45 minutes. One of my close friends was the lead recruiter for it. And it just so happened enterprise experience was the only thing missing, but they loved me, right? So now when I'm asking people, it's not about, hey, can you help me with my resume? No, it's I'm looking for opportunity and I'm looking for connections, people that will actually be, in an ideal world, I'd be able to say, hey, Matt, can you connect me to the director of recruitment for Google? And you have a relationship with them that allows you to reach out and be like, hey, I could really vouch for this person. Then you get in the door. And that's what's so critical within this job search and within this job search structure.
Yeah, I try to do it even in my sales now, is to go on to LinkedIn and say, who's connected to these people that I might be able to ask? And I get people asking me all the time. I say, if you want to come to me and ask me 10 people that you would like to be introduced to, or that's great. And I'm going to go through that list and say, look, I'm connected to them, but I've never talked to them.
Mhm.
Or I'm connected to them. I've talked to them. Here's email, here's phone. I can make that introduction. You can drop my name. You can drop my name anyway. It doesn't matter. But there's a difference between, not all connections are created equally. And so not all contacts and help. That's what you have to find, is someone who can. And same thing we talked about with Brian, just getting the attention. And maybe it's getting the attention of someone who's not the hiring manager, but who knows the hiring manager. Say, look what I just got from Dan. Isn't that great? He's creative. He's looking for a job. And a lot of times I think that could, certainly it can't hurt, but that's what you might be looking for. But there are a lot of people who say they want to help who don't want to help.
Well, I don't even think that they don't want to help. I just think that sometimes, as weird as it sounds, they're offering more for their own. I'm going to call it selfish, and hopefully nobody yells at me for that.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah. So it really is for those selfish reasons. The thing with me is, and I understand what you're saying.
That's fine too, actually, because if they're trying to help, but what I was trying to say is the people who are out there very vocally about, how can I help you? How can I do this? And then you reach out to them and they don't.
Oh, yeah.
Just because it doesn't matter. No one's going to know that they didn't answer you. Well, all they're going to see is, oh, this guy's posting all the time. Hey,
and this is how people get followings. Most of the information out there is not great. In 2021, I was named one of the top 25 job search experts in the world by JobScan. And I wound up having to create a private community. So I don't know if you're in it yet or not, but I have a 12,000 person private community that was the result of the work I was doing a couple of years ago. And it's all based on safety and sanctuary, so that people know if they come to this place that they don't have to worry about those individuals that are doing it for clout. I don't believe in, trying to ring up as many connections as you can. I mean, I've turned away probably 60,000 connections. And right.
Everyone. Here's where I'll tell you, I think you're wrong. I connect with almost everyone just because I don't know who they know or who knows whatever. Some of them you could tell are quick or just going to be, it's just not going to be helpful. I had someone who did a connection, and then I don't even mind being pitched right after getting connected. Just a matter of how you do it. But I would go especially anyone who's even in like the periphery of what you're trying to do, I would go and get those connections just because as you put stuff out there, and I don't mean followers, I mean connections, not someone following. I don't try and get as many followers. I don't care if you're following me. I'd like you to be connected to me. If you don't want to be connected to me and you just want to follow, it's fine. But I think it's important just because there's very little harm in having those connections. The risk is going to, it's my opinion. Why do you think otherwise?
Because no, I understand. And this is where, first of all, I never get offended. This is all about reciprocal conversation and how we can better things. Because I've been there. And because when I started out, I was coming from 400 connections, and now, you know, my posts are seen by 7 million people per year. And the reason I bring that up is because when you get to a certain point, and this isn't going to be true for everybody, but for me, it got to a certain point where people would use my name, or they would want to connect with me and then start soliciting for my connections. So for me, having a very intelligent, very intentional network is paramount. So when I started out, the reason I got as big as I did, as fast as I did, is because I knew I wanted to go into the recruitment space. So I connected with all the recruiters, with all the job search experts, all these different people. But I also knew where my bread was not buttered. So I'm not great at working with people like Hannah because I don't know enough about straight out of college. That's just not my niche. So there has to be this reciprocal value. If I'm connecting with somebody, not only do I have to provide value to them, they have to be able to provide value to me. And by doing it this way, this is how I've really created this strong community as opposed to network. And I'm able to reach out to people that maybe I've only had a couple of words with and say, hey, can you help me out? Oh yeah, Dan, I love your stuff, blah, 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 blah. And that's how this stuff really picks up steam. So I understand what you're saying for a lot of people, but I'll be the first to admit, I hate social Saturdays. I'm probably the biggest anti-social Saturday.
I agree about that. I agree with that. I'm talking about just a random.
Oh, I know.
And say, you know what, you want to be connected, fine, as long as you're respectful. Who knows? I never know when you're going to need something. And even look, the spam stuff. I get spam for promotional items, and I had a job. Someone asked me if I can do this, and I went back to some random connection and see if I can get it. So I get what you're saying. It's quality connections is more important than quantity, but I think you just never know who's connected to who and who's going to see it. So having those extra connections is helpful. Putting the most important thing is just putting the stuff out there. You know, that's the way people can see it. There's so much immeasurable data. I talk about this all the time. Like, you have no idea who is going to see Dana's comment or your comment earlier, you know, and who isn't connected that might now connect. So that's what I think is important, the content. What's the dream? You've had some good experience. What's a dream company job for you right now?
So this is where it gets a little bit difficult. The work that I do is not easy. It's not easy to talk about. It's not easy to do. And with the amount of companies out there that have really reduced the amount of roles for people looking to make a difference, I'm very much in a position where I want to see which companies are sticking true to pushing the boundaries on what is possible when it comes to inclusion and diversity. Now, that doesn't mean I'm looking for a DEI management role. As a program manager, I really am looking to affect the day-to-day learning and development, morale, so on and so forth. Quite frankly, I was in my dream job for 2 years. So now when I look at it, it's not about the company. I've been in healthcare, pharmaceutical, I've been in software, high tech. It's about where can I make the biggest impact on the talent, on the L&D, on the onboarding? Where can I utilize my key for strategy to help a company improve? And then on the side, when I'm not doing that, I'm a professional speaker and producer. So getting out on those stages and doing more conversations about those topics is what I love every day. It's why I have the setup I do. And it's why I have the voice I have.
So DEI, if we're having people who are trying to, again, I see this, I think of Dan. What are some other keywords and job titles, descriptions aside from DEI that I
Yeah, so senior program manager is the title that I routinely associate with. I have people sending me jobs for director level roles, but I think we have to be a little bit self-aware of where our experience is. So like with a smaller company, I could certainly be a director, but for a larger scale company, I'm probably a senior program manager. In terms of divisions, learning and development, HR, operations is really where I sit. I'm very well known for creating sustainable programs that are built utilizing collaborations from cross-functional environments. So everything from how do we bring in, again, more diverse talent to how do we create mentorship programs? How do we increase morale? Do we have to go back and look through A, B, C, D, and E? This is all really, really where I specialize. Last thing I just want to mention for your audience, even though I'm sitting on this side of it, I still believe that there's an opportunity out here to help. So if I could be of any service, you'll know right away. I'll tell you, hey, I could help with this, I could help with that. And if I can't, I'm going to be very direct. But if you come to me to ask for help, please know I'm Jersey born, Jersey bred. I tell the honest truth with very little room for massaging. So
I like it that way. I'm from New Jersey myself, Marlboro. Grew up in Marlboro. But
oh no, Marlboro. You're from where Snooki's from. I grew up in Somerset County. I went to Monmouth.
Patriots.
Yeah, so I know Marlboro quite well.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I really appreciate you having me on, Matt. I was reticent because it is a weird situation for me, but you've proven to be just an incredible human being. And anyway,
this is low effort. I mean, there's people, I'm saying I'll connect everyone with them and we'll talk about until we're blue in the face. The people like Mark Goldberg and Christina Suzua, like, Angela Eng, daily are putting literally daily 10, 15 job openings.
Oh yeah.
And people putting together these lists that I encourage everyone to follow and or connect with, because they're really high quality jobs, high quality companies. The other thing we didn't talk about today is, target companies, target sort of job descriptions, but you never know, as you're looking for a job description, you might find a company you never heard of, or as you're looking for companies, you might find these jobs that you never heard of. So, oh, that sounds a little bit interesting. They're all different. Like a director in one could be the senior programmer in another. I don't really care. They have such these things on titles. I don't really care what you call me. And I think a lot of times they're not even that accurate. It just depends. Like there's so many SVPs of a company. Well, there really should only be one senior vice president of whatever. Everyone else it should be clear, where they're at. And that's a corporate thing. It doesn't.
Oh yeah. Well, that's why I said I'm not so tied up on job titles, because they do change. One piece of advice I would suggest for anybody that's coming on your show is, regardless of what job you're after, do the research on the current market rate. So do not use Glassdoor. Their data is not up to date, but if you use things like levels.fyi or salary.com, you want to check the role title in your geographic area or closest metropolitan area. And that's going to give you a range of about 50%. Be honest with yourself about where you fit there. And the reason I bring this up is because I see so many people undervalue themselves, and then companies going to take advantage of that. So you may be $140,000 player, but you're only asking for 60. The company's not going to argue with you.
Yeah.
So
the time to negotiate is before you start. Not rely on someone to give you a raise 9 months based on performance. You can hope that is, but the time to negotiate is. And I mean, there's a lot of people out there. Don't be afraid to go for what you want. And I've lost jobs asking for extra paid time off.
Which is stupid when all of Europe and the rest of the world gets like a month
They took those jobs away from me, but in hindsight, that's great. I don't want to work for those type of companies.
Exactly, and that's something people have to. Yeah, that's something people have to keep in mind. Oh, my head is not normally like this. I shaved my head in support of childhood cancer, so please keep that in your thoughts and minds. Appreciate it.
Appearance shouldn't have any. Why do I care what someone looks like as long as they're not offending anyone? Yeah, it's weird. Like who knows? It could be. We have friends who have cancer who have had to shave their head, and so there are all these things that are issues that should not be an issue, like the gap in your resume. Like, who cares? Like, it's none of your business. But if you see someone who looks like they could be good for the role, why do you care if they took a year off to travel the world, which I know people are doing, or took 2 years to take care of a sick relative? There's just so many reasons why that could be. It's just, I don't know. I think people are not good. I'm terrible at interviewing either side, but they're just not good at it. So they have these lazy, canned questions that just everyone's going to ask.
Yeah. Yeah, it happens. But you're 100% right. And that's a lot bigger conversation. But yeah, if a company is going to show you bias, then they're not the company for you.
Yeah. And I was telling my friend, he was asking me, he's like, well, what if they call and say, was he a good employee? I said, well, they're technically not allowed to do that. They're just allowed to call and say, was this person working there? Now, whether they do that, who knows? But legally, they're not allowed to. They can just say, hey, was Dan an employee? Yes, from this to this.
Yeah. Not only are they not allowed to ask that, but let's say you have a disability, a recruiter's not actually allowed to know. So a corporation is going to have an entire accommodations department. Most of them don't advertise it, but if you actually look on their website, they have it. And that's a third party that you would go through as opposed to the recruiter. So if you're getting accommodations, the recruiter will have no indication of what you're actually dealing with. It's protected by the ADA, and that follows through even if you get offered the job.
Yeah, all good advice. You were helpful before you got on in the comments. You're helpful here. Let's return the favor, and anyone who has some roles or connections in what Dan's looking for. So DEI, Senior Programming Manager.
Yeah, if you have any knowledge of any paid speaking opportunities, I'll send you my information. You know how it is when we're faced with things that we haven't encountered before. We have to scratch and claw.
Yeah, and get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah,
the hardest thing for me has been trying to get out of my comfort zone and some of the things that I have to do. But other people are going to do it.
Yep. Yeah, but this is who we are, and I've got 2 kids in the background that are my why. So there is no, I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I can't do it is for when I'm single.
Yeah. Can is, people use the word can. It's not, they generally mean they don't want to, or they won't. Not that they can't. So check out Dan's profile, Dan Roth Consulting. Connect with him if you can help. If you have any questions on how he might be able to help you, connect there. Connect with me. Connect with Mark Goldberg and Christina Sazua. We'll put all this stuff in a follow-up post with information. But and if you see someone posting that they're looking for work, just click like, share, comment, something. Just click a button. It's just a click of a button. Don't ever scroll by anyone who's asking for help like that. Click a button. You don't have to do anything but that, and then your people can see it, and the people who want to help can help. That's my last advice. Is you never know when it's going to be you, and it's the right thing to do anyway. So that's why we do it. Thanks to Brian and Hannah and Dan for joining us today. We'll have another episode soon because we had some people who wanted to. So if you're looking for work or if you're hiring, get in touch with me and we'll get you set up for the next event. Have a great night and help out the people that you can, and ask for help if you need it. And we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.